Why is this world experiencing hurricane levels of wind right now? Anywho, greetings Terrarians, Khaios here. One of my core philosophies when it comes to building in Terraria is to employ block variety. Don't use only one kind of material. Today, however, that goes out the window with a build challenge coming from accompanying from my Discord server. The goal is to build a house using a single type of block and its accompanying wall. I can use paint and any furniture to help hide the fact that the house is only built using a single block type. For this challenge, furniture is defined as anything that's placeable which is not a block or a wall. Additionally, I'm adding one minor stipulation to the challenge. I want the house to be valid for NPC use, as that'll further restrict me by not allowing me to do things like leave massive gaps of air. I know the comment section is probably going to riot on me, but I did not select a sandstone block for this challenge. Instead, I've decided to go with a rich mahogany. It's extremely versatile, it's a nice texture block, and it works really well with paint. Because it's so hot in Okinawa this time of year, I want to build something nice and chill, so I'm going into the snow biome, and hopefully I'll build a nice looking log cabin. The first challenge that I'm going to encounter is the foundation. I do want to have a false foundation. While I could just lay the bottom floor on top of the snow and call it a day, I feel like that would be disingenuous to the nature of this challenge, and so I thought that I wanted to have a nice false foundation made out of stone, ideally, since I'm working with wood, and I thought it would be interesting to change it up. So I'm using gray paint at first on the rich mahogany wall, and I'm doing a checkered pattern where every other tile has nothing but air, and it kind of creates this effect of a brick pattern for the bottom layer of the foundation, which looks quite nice. I do end up painting it white eventually just to brighten it up and have it pop, or rather have it stand out less against the snow. The bottom floor itself is just going to be painted gray because I feel that when you paint rich mahogany gray, it does take on a rather decent looking stone texture. Additionally, I place a few white painted strange plants and a blueberry bush in the false foundation just to add a little bit more decoration in there. And I also use some wooden beams to not only give a splash of brown, but also a bit of verticality to all of the horizontal bricks that I have going on. And the wooden beams are something that I'm going to be using a lot in this build. Since rich mahogany works best horizontally, having a texture that works vertically that can also look like wood is going to be extremely handy. And since the wooden beams are technically a furniture in this challenge, it's going to be something that I can rely on heavily. So when you stack rich mahogany side by side like this, it creates a really nice laid log appearance for me. And that's why I decided to go with a log cabin, because if I'm going to be using a lot of rich mahogany, it's going to be laying out in this fashion anyway, and it already looks like a cabin, so I might as well go the entire way. I'm experimenting a little bit with some junction boxes and some logic gates to see if they might work as a tile for the roof. In the end, I decided I wasn't exactly happy with any of those textures, so I decided to leave them out. And I'm just writing down a few decorations on the side of the house while I rethink what I want to do with the roof, because I wasn't happy the direction that it was going. For a window, I don't have access to any glass or any fences, but I can have an opening of air as long as it doesn't exceed 14 spaces. it will not invalidate the house. However, NPCs can, or enemies can still spawn inside, but if you have NPCs moved in, it's not really that big of a deal. So I decided to punch out a 12 block hole in the wall, and then I flanked it with 2 lime painted Medusa banners as kind of curtains, with some platforms above that have been painted gray just to hold the curtains in place. And then I have a boreal sink underneath it. And for the most part, I'm going to be using boreal furniture. I feel that it fits the whole log cabin theme quite nicely. And since it's kind of an off brown, it does look pretty good against the brown painted textures. So in the end, I decided to add a second floor, and I'm just going to kind of add some detail work to the stair just to make it pop out a little bit more. I didn't like that it was just going to be a flat row of platforms. So I'm throwing down some gray paint on the background wall to make it look a little bit more stone. The seaweed plant to kind of hide up the fact that it's just rich mahogany wall, and I also add some wooden beams to also hide the fact that it's just more rich mahogany wall. The trick to this challenge is getting it to not look like there's a ton of rich mahogany here, even though there is. So furniture is absolutely key. That's why I have the cauldron, I've got some paintings, I have the keg. As much decoration as I could throw in here to cover up the redundancy of the walls, the better. So while it kind of does look a little bit cluttered, it still does not look bad in my opinion. So that's why I'm throwing in a second window. The top story, I wanted to throw an attic in there, but I started to feel like it's not going to work exactly the way I want to. The attic would really highlight the fact that everything is made out of rich mahogany, because there'd be another layer of ceiling separating the second floor from the attic, which would just accent the fact that there's a ton of the same wall. So to kind of hide that instead, I decided to go with a vaulted ceiling and just have some beams going all the way up to the ceiling to just contradict the horizontal appearance. And then I throw in some more decorations all of the way up, some shelving as well as an animal skin. I considered making this a bedroom, but in the end I decided against it because I also thought about having a fireplace and a chimney, and so I figured that's probably what would look best. It allows me to place less light sources in the room and keep things a little bit darker, which also helps to hide the fact that all of the walls and all of the blocks are just rich mahogany. For the ceiling, I experimented around with possibly having some minecart rail, but decided against it because it looked a little too smooth. It just wasn't standing out to me as a good ceiling material. And so in the end I decided to go ahead and do the platform trick on the ceiling just to give them a little bit more of a shingle look, since I can't use my usual go-to of the Dynasty shingles. I do have a bit of an overhang at the top, which I decided to paint brown to make it look like there's just a wooden plank on top of all of the shingles, and then I have the chimney coming out of that as well. And that is the 1 block build challenge complete. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, and next week I want to do a restricted material build challenge, so let me know in the comments what materials you think you'd like to see me build with. Thank you Eclipsion13 for this challenge suggestion. It was a ton of fun. I've never done anything quite like it, and in fact I'm considering doing more of these in the future with different materials. For now, I wanted to thank you all very much for watching. I'll catch you all later. Happy building.